Quittin time.
Oh, did you have a song in mind?
It's Quittin time.
Okay, everybody, welcome to... I was doing it. Quittin time. We were just laughing until we cried. Some of us, mostly Nicole.
I am still currently crying. Yes,
because in the comments, which I don't, this is so weird, but when you do something live or whatever, you do YouTube live and then you like try to look back and the like live chat is actually kind of hard to find, like what happened live. But anyway, and the whole point is to interact, right? Yeah. And so Aaron, who is nothing at random, said you guys were talking back and forth about ha, ye, and yee haw and stuff, and then he said yee, and then you tried to say okay, Michael Jackson,
because he said ha ye, like yee.
Yes.
And so I tried to say Michael Jackson, but it autocorrected to Michael Haxon, and I have never had a more appropriate autocorrect.
Oh, I know. And then we laughed, and then you cried a little.
I cried
because of the laughing. It was very funny. Okay, so anyway, welcome to Quittin time. We have teased this ability in the past, but basically Nicole requested that we do this Thursday. It's just at the end of the day. It's Quittin time. You're coming in and enjoying a drink with us, and we're checking in with you and catching up. But it doesn't have to be the end of the week though it has been in the past.
And it doesn't have to be every week.
Yeah, it's whenever. We're just checking in.
I appreciate that y'all miss us, but
and we're trying to schedule things so that you can get your questions ready or check in or ask or interact. And the whole idea, I mention this every time.
I should check for those questions.
I mention this every time. Oh, I forgot we have the noise. It's so...
If you hear... Okay, I just got 3 things happen at once.
Oh my God.
A wind advisory on my phone.
Yeah,
so if you were out riding
windy.
today...
Crazy windy.
That is crazy. I drove the van and almost got blown off the freeway. So if you hear a really weird vibration sound in the background, our front garage cannot handle the wind.
People who installed these doors were just total morons, and that's one of the many errors that they made was the seal vibrates when the wind is too bad.
And that's after we helped them install them.
Oh my God, it's been a comedy of errors with those idiots. So anyway,
I hope they're watching.
My introduction, the chances of that are near zero. So my introduction for this is it's Quittin time. We just check in with you, hang out, talk about things at the end of the day. And
check in with me or with the people.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Both. And then the question of how long does the whole thing last is as long as it takes Nicole to finish her drink, which I think last time we may have even gone with 2 drinks.
I went with 2.
So describe to me what we've got this time. You brought this in today.
Blue Moon Light Sky Citrus Wheat. This was a Christmas gift from my best friend.
Oh, fancy.
You have to make sure you put the hand behind it so that they can...
I'm doing it. Perfect.
Okay.
In fact, I'm doing it better than you are. We want to do a poll? Because you're showing like the ingredients section.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, so I'm a big fan of Blue Moon, and this is more of a light version of that so that I don't die of hypoglycemia.
What do you mean by that?
The like super heavy wheat.
Are you in danger of dying?
Not with this.
At any time.
Any time.
Not now.
I would love to die of misadventure. So am I in danger of dying? Yes.
If you had regular Blue Moon, you'd die is what you're trying to say?
No. But if I wanted more than one of them, maybe.
What?
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I don't know. That's not, it's never come up, I guess.
That's not what I drink when I go out.
Okay. It's because of the oranges?
It's because of the wheat.
Oh, right.
The carbs part of it.
Weird. Anyway.
But I do like getting to eat
I'm glad we're not dying. Here's to not dying.
Not dying.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so questions have started rolling in. That's the idea. We're gonna sit here, have a beer with you, enjoy the end of the day with Dylan and Nicole.
It has been a day.
You think it's been a long day? It's been the wind? Is that what's primarily the antagonist of the day?
Just go.
We had a meeting that went long, started late, went long about events. That's our kind of our thing.
Oh, I'm sure. I made notes.
Nice. I'm sure everybody that knows in there, that's logging in or checking in or knows of us already. That's kind of our thing is events. A lot of other people have been asking about our events and about all the things we're doing and stuff. So like we love doing events and community and attending events and doing all kinds of things. Speaking of, did you have that? Is that on your list?
Sorry. I was reading the group chat to answer.
Don't get to those yet. I'm still doing my long
introduction. You're long and
so you have notes, but one of the things that I was going to try to segue to right now was we did Garage Brewed.
We went to an event that is an easy way to segue into what I will be talking about later about events. But we did go to Garage Brewed, which is in Cincinnati, and it's a big bike show thing at Rheingeist and Over the Rhine, Cincinnati. What else did you want to know? It was cool.
That was it. I was just mentioning that we like to go to events, and you went there and were inundated with socialness.
Oh, God, there was so much socialing.
Someone's asking about our audio setup. I felt like our audio setup was okay last time, but had a little bit of a attack release thing, and then he's maybe saying the same thing's happening now. Sometimes it does do a clipping thing. We're figuring it out.
Okay, so Aaron's asking, hear me out, Quittin time every day. Aaron, if you drive your little rebel butt over here and set this up for me and make sure that it's ready to go, maybe, but probably not. My anxiety can't handle it.
This beer tastes very light.
It is very light.
Like a water and a beer. Like a water and a beer had a baby.
You know, there's water and beer all the time.
Well, a full
fact,
water and a beer, they got together. So it's already...
I'm going to restate the TikTok thing earlier because that's what it reminds me of. I saw a TikTok where this guy was being asked to do some sort of trend, but with black people. And he said, as a white person... this guy is saying, well, I'm a mixed person. My mom is white and my dad is Caucasian. I have a unique blend of lack of melanin, so I will not be doing that joke. And I just
double down,
lost it.
It's funny.
So, beer and water both of them have water.
Yeah, I know, but it's just extra water. Okay, let's try to. So I think I started saying. Jesus, the vibration noise. I started to say this in the sort of long-winded roundabout intro. That's true. Dylan and Nicole. I don't know why it's but yes, is her first name.
I do go by for short.
So anyway, we can go through the list, but feel free to interact and we'll try to get to questions, and that's kind of the idea. We're available for whatever you want to talk about.
I'll just spend the entire time interrupting Dylan. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
So one of the first ones was Greg Davis, who I know. Hey, how's it going? Any word on when the 650 Meteors will arrive? Absolutely. I heard we had a meeting this week. This week? Wednesday? It can't be. Was it this week?
Time is irrelevant.
Oh my God. I don't know. But we had a meeting very recently. It had to have been this week. Last Friday?
It couldn't have. Today's Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday.
Anyway,
it had to have been last week.
Within the last 100 hours, we had talked to our person from our official guy from Royal Enfield, and he said August. So the 650 Meteors,
November. If you've been following along,
the official word.
I'm not pessimistic.
I know I'm
a realist,
and we talked about this. We talk about this a lot. This winds up being a lot of the questions. Is when's this bike happening? What about this bike? What do you think about this?
This bike is happening when I posted on social media that it has arrived in our parking lot. Yeah,
Royal Enfield just did this to us this week, and we're always kind of making fun of this, but this week was egregious, where they will just be like, bikes are coming out, there's going to have a thing, and then like 4 hours before the window, they'll be like, hurry up and order, and you're like,
I have 4 hours to decide.
How many motorcycles? I mean,
10 motorcycle purchase.
Yes, Royal Enfields are inexpensive, but yeah, you're talking about quick, decide to spend
yes, it's inexpensive.
$400,000 or something.
It's inexpensive for us to buy them, sure, and for the consumer, but I need to do that times 10.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's totally crazy.
Or 20.
Yeah,
depending.
Whatever, who knows? I mean, technically this time you could order 15. So you're making a decision that would just be 15 times, let's say $5,000 is the average or something. I mean, this is a crazy decision to just suddenly make it in 4 hours. And we're not even open that day or whatever. It's like, okay, anyway, it's silly. So expect August, expect the Hunter. Nobody asked about this one, but the Hunter 350, which is actually coming before that, should be here the end of March. Well, we should be able to place those orders. So speaking of, thank you for the segue to this. And I know I see Brad Hill in there as well. Yeah, end of March for Hunter, and actually bikes in stores or whatever in April is right. If you are sure, or you got a thing inside you that you just need to be
racing,
that you need to be,
where is Palmer,
the first on the list for one of these bikes, then we already have the list started. So basically what I'm saying is, Hunter, I think you probably technically could be first on the list, but it's already too late to be first on the list for the Super Meteor 650. But if you need to be on that list, then you got to put a deposit down. Basically, is how we're going to start
for both
doing
models. It's
either one.
Usually, in the past, we have been able to be like, okay, we know we're going to have 5 of these, and only 1 is taken. At this point, I expect both of those models to have all of them taken up right away, except for a demo
the first. Especially think about the Hunter, right? The Hunter is super, super popular in India, so they're not going to want to send us as many. So if you want to be on the list for the Hunter, you really have to get that in.
What's your guess for our order quantity?
I think they're going to say 3.
I was going to say 5.
Yeah.
Hopefully 1 is a demo.
What I mean by that is, so we're going to have a demo so you can do a test drive, but then I think they're going to be like, okay, you can order 2 other ones, and they'll probably will be like the color everybody wants. You can't do that one.
Yes, you can't have that one.
So there is one, if you're paying attention to the Hunters, there's a type, what is it called again? No, it's called Urban and I can't remember. Anyway, the one with spoke wheels.
One?
The one with the spoke wheels. There's 2 models with spoke wheels, and that will be the one that they'll be like, you can't get any of those, or you can only get 1 or something. Because that'll be the one I think will be more popular for Americans.
Well, yeah, and I think they'll make less of the spoke wheels because those are not popular, or will be
Indians
less popular
don't want
in India.
those. Indians would rather have tubeless tires. Okay, so. Then was there a question before Dave123, which I recognized you, Dave. Hey, Dave, from constantly commenting on our YouTube.
There was not a question, but I have some stuff to say.
Well, can I address him? Because I didn't want to get it. Sorry, I straight up interrupted you there, but I didn't want to get it lost. See, on my chat window, it goes past, and now I can't interrupt.
I have it.
Okay, you will remember it?
Yes.
Okay, now say what you're going to say. Sorry
so
for
my
interrupting.
thing is that it is February.
That's true.
It was very warm today.
Yes.
It was very windy, but if you rode a motorcycle today, you know that it's almost riding weather, or it was at least riding weather today. So events are starting to come up. Our season starts in April, goes through October, and I have a bunch of things written down. You can't see this little piece of paper, but I have a bunch of things written down. We even had Dennis, I'm going to call you out by name. Dennis come by. We talked about events with CavMug. So there's CavMug, bike hops, mural hops, a whole bunch of different events that we're going to be collaborating with them. Mama Tried is next week in Milwaukee. If you're going, I am very interested in knowing. March 19th is a spring tide ride. You will notice that it coincides with the day before the first day of spring. And it could have snow on the ground, or it could be 75 degrees.
Yeah.
And if it's anywhere in between, just put on another layer. You'll be fine.
If Nicole can do it, you can do it.
I got a lot of flack for this last year about the fact that it was like 40 degrees when we did it.
No. It was like 50, maybe. It was sunny.
I moved it from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. to get the warmer weather, but I ended up wearing too many layers and sweating my ass off. So if I can do it and you can just put on another layer, we're riding. First day of spring.
We're riding. We don't care.
And I have too many. Did you know, Dylan, I know you love arbitrary made up holidays. And do you know what today's is?
Dare you? Of course I do know what today's is. Are we acting right now? No, Nicole, tell me.
It's international.
She can't even do it. Oh, no.
It's International Pizza Day.
Oh, my God, it is? That's making me hungry. It's funny because we segue to our sponsor. Sponsored by Donatos. I'm just joking. We're not.
Do you know what's significant about that? Dude, it's 100% made up. So when I say these events, I just pick random dates for this stuff. So, our bike nights and DGR we don't control, but there's a calendar that you can get a link to. Share your Google Calendar to have all the events on.
Our calendar.
Yes, our calendar.
Can you try to remember to put that? We maybe put that in the.
It's actually on our. I can put it in the description. Yes, but it's also on our Facebook group. There's like a link to it, so you can actually just have this calendar. It's not just Throttle events, but I keep as many motorcycle events as I'm aware of that are in this general region are on that calendar. So,
hey, Rick says thank you. So Rick's from maybe 45 minutes. I was just over there, Springfield, and
like towards Xenia.
Yeah, or Dayton area. And he said thanks for making the calendar. So thank you.
I feel like a lot of people rely. So if there are errors, don't come for me. But always check your event for yourself. But I feel like I hear a lot. I didn't know that was happening, Aaron. I mean, at least you were doing something fun, but like Aaron didn't go to Garage Brewed because he didn't know what day it was.
Yeah, I saw that. He said he forgot of the day or whatever.
So my point is that here in Columbus, or at least in this region, if you don't have a motorcycle thing to go to from April to October, it's your own damn fault.
Oh my God. There's so many things. And I was actually thinking about this because, man, there's so many things to address here in the comments. We had Hold Fast Gloves checked in, which is hi. And he says, come out to San Diego and ride. Of course, we would love to do that.
Yes.
But it is funny. I was just thinking about this today where when we were planning all of our events, and I was thinking, man, we're really trying to pack so much in. And it makes me feel like, well, the reason why we're doing that is because we don't have this year-long riding season. So we're like, okay, as soon as the weather gets nice and we're going to consistently be nice in April to October, and we just have to go. And it's something every month.
Except
and there's stuff happening.
The last year and the year before, we've at least extended past October both years. We did something early.
Did we?
The springtime ride, I put on the schedule very last minute because I was like, we're going to do something super early.
Nice
so that was technically March. So that was before the April to October season. Anyway, my whole point about that is pay attention to the calendar because if you're bored this summer,
yes. If you're bored, then you're boring. It's called a soundbite.
If you're bored, I'm not your mom. Look on the calendar.
I feel like I summarized it. Okay. If you're bored, then you're boring.
Okay, so Dave asked about your favorite vintage bike, Dylan. If you could only have one in your garage. Now, Dave, if you've been watching this or you've ever heard Dylan or I speak about this particular topic,
one of anything,
we can't properly answer that question. If you can only have one,
I think it's fine. I like thought experiments though, so I don't want to just dismiss the question.
It's the Caballero.
Caballero? What's she saying?
Your favorite bike. Am I saying it wrong?
The Fantic one?
No. The Italian, like
That is it.
Scrambler.
But it's not vintage. The Caballero?
It's okay. If you, Dylan, could have one bike in the garage, you would have that bike.
I don't think that's true. Why are you saying that? Do you know what you're talking about? Which one are you talking about?
The Caballero.
It's the Italian one I'm always bringing up?
Yeah.
No, I just like that as a potential like thing we could carry, like a bike. They're modern.
That wouldn't be your single. Okay.
What are you talking about? Maybe we have to look this one up. Maybe we're thinking of different bikes.
Maybe.
And you're just calling it that.
We know that I don't know names.
Are you talking about Libertaria? Is that what you're talking about?
That is.
Okay. So the Caballero is a modern Italian motorcycle.
I was thinking of the Libertaria. Okay.
Libertaria is, and the funny thing is, I don't have this ability, but we should totally set this up. We should totally set this up on this computer because I have it in the other scene where we can put our phone along the side.
You can look it up.
This would be insane to try to do right now, like live. But you can. We have a thing. We'll do it for next time.
Look, if you have just tuned in and you don't know anything about me, I can't remember names. So if you come to the shop and you've said your name 6 times, I have the picture of the green bike in my head with the high pipes, the one that you really like.
It's green. Now I'm totally.
Is it
confused.
blue?
It's red, white, and blue. It's
red, white, and blue.
American
Okay.
colors.
Anyway. My point is I cannot remember names of anything.
Yeah.
So if I remember
and
your
it's a weird name. They're Japanese, but they have a Spanish name. Libertaria sounds like freedom or bookstore or one of the versions of it. so biblioteca. So anyway, anyway, yes, that is my favorite vintage bike. The funny thing is about that bike is I sort of feel like it might not be a great bike to live with. You know what I mean? That's
not a freeway bike at all. That's
no. So it is interesting. So let's address it because we have so many things happening in the comments, which I'm super appreciative of. But I feel like if I get too distracted, I'm going to talk about a million things and lose track. As far as vintage bikes go, if I could just pick one, I think I would go with a Honda CB 500 or 550. Even though that's not really a highway bike,
Why did you steal my answer?
Oh, sorry. You probably maybe if we go 400.
There's a specific 400 that I would, if it was the only bike I could have, it would be the CB 400 Super Sport.
We came really close to buying a CB 400 Super Sport at Mecum. I never told you about that. No, there was a blue one, but it was weird that we didn't really quite like. But they had painted the fenders, and that made me worried that they were crappy. And then there were 2 yellow ones. There was a very light yellow that wasn't a good yellow, and then there was a nice bright yellow.
There was a 400 that was yellow?
2 400s. Yeah, there's canary. It's called canary yellow or parakeet. They came in yellow, red, and blue. I think that's it.
My favorite is the blue, and I still think about...
CB 400F is right. Somebody said that.
I still think about the Super Sport that we sold to that guy up in Cleveland. all the time.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, at the time, I thought that was a really, I'm not high price. I don't know how to say that exactly I don't mean it in a mean way, like we screwed that guy over.
Adjusted.
What I mean is that was one of the higher prices I'd seen paid. It was a perfect motorcycle. I mean, it's perfect. We have photos of it, and that's why you get to be reminded of it all the time, because we have photos in the shop. There's one right there.
Yeah, there's a photo of it in my office as well, and I just stared at it all day.
We could pull it up on the phone if we had my thing. I'm gonna do it next time. You'll love it. You'll love it.
But my favorite vintage bike, even though having Bernadette specifically would be if I could have
CB360,
the singular vintage bike, but my favorite vintage bike overall, if I'm to look for any random one, would be a CB500 or 550.
500, 550 is a nice size. I almost said 750. I know that you don't like the 750 as much, and we talked about this last episode. But it's bigger, and it could definitely do the highway more. So I sort of thought like that's a good kind of single bike. It doesn't make up
for all the things I don't like about the 750.
It feels top heavy. It is tall.
Takes forever to warm up.
They do take a long time to warm up.
And always sounds like something is wrong with it.
They're clacky. There's something about the timing chain at low speeds. It just clack, 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 and then you rev it up and it's fine. But at idle, they do sound noisy. Anyway, I guess that's my number one choice. I love Triumphs. I love British bikes. I love those bikes. But it would be tough to just pick one bike that's kick only, because kick only is so cool and it's sort of romantic, and look how cool I look when I'm starting it, but like when it doesn't start, man, is that annoying.
Look how dumb I look and how dumb I feel.
It's frustrating.
And how bruises my leg.
And I'm sort of thinking, I was also thinking of something like you have the Ironhead Sportster. That's a pretty decent. It would be tough to live with as your only bike, because they can be maintenance heavy. That's my nicest way of saying that. And
if it's your only bike, you're riding a lot.
Yeah.
You're rattling bits off.
Yeah, and that's why I think Honda's got the reliability, especially in the 70s. 500/550, they're basically the same motorcycle. So a Honda CB 500/550 would be my choice for that, because I think you'd be riding the most and you'd have fun, and it's good enough. It's big enough. I think now, we talk about this a lot, especially with the Royal Enfield stuff. We've talked about this in past episodes, but people become obsessed with the larger CC bikes, but 500 and 550 is plenty.
The 550 was the first bike I took on the freeway ever.
That's a great motorcycle. That one ride specifically was also a great motorcycle.
Of 600 people.
Yeah. We talked about that
going
before.
The fastest I've ever gone in my life.
Well, not
on
since,
a vintage
up
bike.
Until then.
Up until then, yes.
Yeah.
On a vintage bike.
It's like 80.
Against my will. I am going to say that. So if I had gotten pulled over, I would have.
Somebody mentioned early 70s Moto Guzzi V7 Sport. That's an interesting the red frame. That's an interesting motorcycle. I guess the problems you would run into there is parts, as compared to a 500. I'm not like debating the two, but as compared to a Honda, even the two that we mentioned,
What year V7 did you say?
He's mentioning that. That's Thunder Bear in there. And it's like Dr. Pepper has that bike that you took photos of. I know that Dr. Pepper's a drink, but it's a person also. That one's beautiful. But see, he has it like, for example,
small though.
For example, that's a 700.
But the overall bike is small.
Not really. I mean, it's definitely not smaller than a 500 or 550. It's like a 750.
Compact.
It's like a 750. Maybe you think of it as small, but so for example, that motorcycle has electrically operated petcocks. What happens if
I'm going to need you to say all of those words again.
Electrically operated petcocks. They're solenoids.
This is a ASMR electrically operated petcocks.
Electrically operated petcock. And that would be a problem if that like failed, and how do I buy another one? And it's cool. It's definitely an awesome motorcycle. It's gorgeous, and I would love it. We got to get this thing that I'm talking about for pulling up the things. You could pull this up while I'm talking about it. It would be awesome. We would love it. Anyway, stay tuned for that technology in the future.
Okay, I'm gonna switch gears.
Yes, please do.
I didn't want to make a mechanical joke, but
I'm gonna change to second gear.
That'd
be funny if we had that graphic. I'm not doing that.
Change directions.
Okay.
Aaron's asking, mostly because I wanted to talk about this too. Would Throttle ever consider hosting small MSF courses? No. Mostly because the requirements are extraneous and I don't want to deal with it. But if you come here and you need help, I will help you. That's
true. We have offered, let's say, informal private instruction.
On-demand, informal,
electrically operated petcock.
No, the the problem is that I couldn't keep up with the requirements of that. As an
and
instructor.
we don't own enough property for that. I mean, there's a place across the street that we've talked about, but we don't control that property, and I think that would be an uphill battle.
And I mean, I have a background in teaching, but there's a very specific responsibility that comes with teaching a group class. I think the most I've done over there is like 2 people at a time.
Yeah.
And it's fine, but I'm not taking you through their curriculum or anything.
No.
I'm just getting you from, I don't know how to ride a motorcycle to, should I take the class?
Greg mentioned that Iron Pony has an MSF course. Yeah, we highly recommend. That's what I was going to sort of segue into. Is we highly recommend the State of Ohio MSF course. And actually, at Iron Pony, they got at least one of our Meteors. So we sold 20 Meteor 350s to the State of Ohio for their class. And I know they brought one to Iron Pony because it was close. So if something were to go wrong, they were in town. So that we highly recommend that. That's what we've always recommended since even before we had a business. Got to take the class.
Yes, you should take the class. I do think that you should have to take the class, but
I think so. It's fun.
It's like $50.
You ride a bike for 2 days.
Yeah, you need a helmet and boots and long sleeve shirt and long pants. Like they're
and you're gonna learn something.
Yes, I like to say
fun.
that you could be an alien landing on this planet, never seen a motorcycle before, and leave, being able to safely get from point A to point B. Slowly, maybe. Sorry.
Easy.
I like to gesticulate.
So Italian.
Roland, who is very early to the chat. Thank you, Roland. How many bikes did you snag at the auction?
Can you see this?
That is 5.
Oh my God. We said none. And you could cut back to earlier past Dylan going, I'm not going to buy anything. And we went in there thinking, I'm not going to buy anything. I'm not going to buy anything. Let me tell the story. So we might as well cut into Meekum. So we'll get to, it was 2 weeks ago now, but we spent a week in Meekum, my dad and I. You stayed here and got a ton of retail stuff reorganized, and the office has all been
It's
reorganized.
the thing I like to say, that when people say that the shop has changed a lot since last time I was here, that is my goal. I want it to look completely different from the last time anyone who comes frequently is here.
You're incorrigible. So anyway, the Meekum, we went there, and I was, we were having a great time. I was meeting people that hadn't seen since last year. Flat Cap Cafe Racer, I haven't seen him yet in the chat, but I saw him within like 5 minutes of being there, and he's a YouTube guy, and it was great. We were having a great time, and the one bike that I had my eye on for Wednesday, so it's Tuesday, and we got there Tuesday, but they were just finishing up, so we really didn't have a chance to buy any bikes on Tuesday. Though there was a Royal Enfield Indian that was kind of cool, and it was like the bid goes on, so I had a chance. We could technically have bought that. But anyway, to make this story, which is probably going to be shorter, is that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, nothing on Sunday. And Wednesday was the real first day that we had, and 130 in was this cool Cafe Racer BMW, and I had my eye on it. My dad even maybe asked at night, or maybe we had specifically said like, oh, what is there one you're looking forward to on the day? And I specifically was like, I don't know, I like that BMW. I'm sure it ran. I think it said something about.
How did you know it run?
It said something about starts and runs. It looked like it was in great condition. It wasn't leaking anything. Nothing looked rusty. When you pull on the throttle, everything felt smooth.
So for the people who may not know how the Meekum auctions work, you can't start them on the floor.
Yeah, if you were a real pain in the butt, you probably could start them. Like you could, on the back of the card, it says like, don't start without the owner present. Like you could like sort of get someone to find the owner to start the bike. If you were like, I'm spending $200,000 on this, I need to know.
We've gotten pretty lucky on that in general, but we've had a couple where the bike looked great and then was kind of garbage.
Yeah,
engine-wise.
Yeah, we have one back there that's completely torn apart. That was a Meekum bike.
The whole top end is off on the.
Yeah. So okay, I got that. Greg was asking here what we got. So we got the BMW. It's a 1974 R75. So it's a 750.
Cafe Racer.
Cafe Racer. It's got a flat white paint job. It's got a patina rusty fender with a brown seat.
Oh, I could.
It's very cool. I know that's what this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. We're gonna do it next time. Stay tuned. It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna blow your mind because you're not a technology person. You're gonna be like this. Why have we not been doing this? So anyway, BMW, that's the first one. The second bike we got was a KZ900. So that's a 1 year only bike. It's a 1976. My dad has one in the other room that's brown that everybody who comes in the shop is like, oh my God, this thing looks brand new. It's from 1976. It's gorgeous. We also got we got 2 CB750s. this is sort of out of order now, but 2 CB750s. We got a 72. I don't even remember the years. And a 74, maybe 73. One has the single smaller stripe and one has the bigger kind of triangle shape. So the earlier and later tank designs. And then a 1975 Norton. Some people call this John Player. It's a John Player paint scheme. So it's red, white, and blue, but it's not the John Player special with the fancy fairing.
Is it like the one that we had from the customer who bought one at
exactly
Mecum that we worked on?
Yes, it's exactly like that.
Okay.
It's red, white, and blue. I mean, obviously it's fun because we think of it's American, but it's British. They have red, white, and blue too. And, and
they do have the right to use those colors in other countries.
So anyway, because this is 75, this is the last year for Norton's. I know Norton sort of technically went on in 76 and 77. They had extra bikes and they just kept finishing them. But in America, that's the last year for Norton. They switched. So a Norton, any British bike, even including Harleys, which are obviously American, but they had right side shift. But in 1975, everybody switched because America had made a rule. I think it's a law. I could say rule, but I'm pretty sure it was a law at that point to standardize it. So everyone had to do left side shift, right side brake for your feet. Everything in the hand controls have sort of always been standard.
Is one of my personal arguments to have with people. It's one of the ones I love to have, where people
what year and stuff.
When people think I'm an idiot.
Yeah. Well, that does come up a lot.
It does come up a lot. And for some reason, I have heard you say something to someone about a right side shift bike, and then they're like, "Oh, that's interesting."
Some people didn't even realize that. Oh, they've been different. I had no idea.
They had no idea, and they're just like, "No, you can't possibly be right." And I'm like, "Look, I know I'm a girl."
You've ridden plenty, so any British bike, so Royal Enfield, Norton, Triumph, BSA, any of those bikes would have been right side shift, meaning your foot control. You change the gears with your right foot. Left side is foot brake. The hand controls are the same: clutch, left, brake on the right. And then Harleys would have been that way too. Harleys are very British for a long time. And I maybe saying like a weird sentence, but the more you get into how Harleys like design and engineering, whatever, they're very similar to British bikes. And they were right side shift. Now the argument that I've heard is in those two places, England and the UK, or England, US and UK. My mom is white and my dad is Caucasian.
Yes, exactly.
They are. They were flat track. They were into flat track racing, and in flat track racing, you're turning left, and so you can shift to the right because your left foot is on the ground doing that rudder kind of guarding thing. Yeah, or you can't put your foot there. Yeah. So that is the reason that I've heard. But anyway, they decided to standardize it in America. Honda didn't have to change. None of the Japanese bikes had to change because they were always left side to start with, and everybody came left side shift. So this Norton is that year. So and then they went out of business right after that. So there's only 1 year where they did left side shift. And it also has an electric start. So a lot of those British bikes, they're famous for being kick only. I'd mentioned that earlier. But this Norton, they decided to add an electric start. They were just trying everything. They were kind of desperate. I know that people maybe think I'm being harsh when I'm saying that, but all the British bikes, BSA went out of business in 1973. Norton in 75. Was doing so poorly that they were just trying everything. Okay, left side shift. We'll do. People want electric start like the Hondas. Let's do electric start.
Say, I have a 1977 Norton.
Yeah, people say that. Yeah.
No, you don't.
It's really not possible. It's technically possible. Like in England, they still had some of those bikes. Like I said, they were literally just sitting in the factory, and they were like, if we just put them together, they'll be a bike. So they did that. But most people, you would not have a bike certainly not after 77, but after 75, there really aren't any Nortons. Okay, so those are the 5 bikes that I got. BMW.
I was like, was there a secret 6th bike I didn't know about?
KZ900, 2 Honda CB750s, and a Norton.
How many of these are we going to sell?
That's an interesting question. I don't know a way.
It's my favorite question about Mecum bikes.
I don't know a way of saying this that doesn't sound like disparaging to the motorcycles, but I need to, because you said in the past we've had bikes that don't run or don't run well. Basically, the process will be, this is a long answer to your easy question, but the process will be get them here, evaluate them. Mm-hmm. Do they run? Do they start? Do they run well? Are they safe? And And then sort of the next sort of secret question is, does Dylan need to own them or my dad or you? So we got this, for example, I mean, that's a perfect example. We keep talking about this Ironhead that you love. That we got.
There are 2 Harleys in the back from Meekum that are on my list.
One's not Meekum, one's a trade-in, but then one is from Meekum. Yeah.
Yes. I'm talking about the Sturgis.
Yeah, the Sturgis was also from Meekum, but
which I was really worried about when it first got here. It was originally not going to be for sale.
Which
by
one?
Throttle, the Sturgis.
Oh, yeah.
And then it became something for sale by Throttle. And I want it.
But that's what I'm trying to say here. That doesn't sound like disparaging. Like, if the bike's for sale, it means like I don't want it. We talk a lot of, especially in this format of Quittin time, is sort of, I've decided to call this fleet building. But if Nicole or me
stable
or Tony, stable building, or Tony or my dad or someone who works here like has to have that, or like maybe let's just say a customer that you don't know that's like a friend of ours, if they just see that and just decide, then yeah, it technically won't be for sale. It will be in my garage or whatever. So then that's the other gate that they sort of have to make it through, and then they'll be for sale. So the intention would be, I think my dad and I had talked about this with the KZ900, probably put both of the KZ900s for sale, and then whichever one sells first, he would keep the other one. A version of that might happen with the CB750s, sort of also the Norton, because we have a 74 Norton with electric start, and see how, which one those we want to sell or keep or whatever. My dad, he loves the old British bikes, but I think that he is, I don't, this isn't offensive or whatever. I don't think he'd be mad if I said this, but I think he's very in his own head about, I don't want to have to stop suddenly have to think about left foot, right foot, whatever. He's only really spent the most time riding left side shift standard motorcycles, and he's worried that if he had to slam on the brakes, he might.
The interesting thing for me about the right side shift motorcycles is the thing I don't like about them is not the right side shift. It's the no mirrors and no turn signals.
Yeah. Well, I don't
right side
mirrors.
Shift
They should
doesn't
have
really,
some mirrors, but yeah.
Right side shift doesn't bother me.
Well, this Norton has turn signals because after 1971, everybody
or the kickstart only.
Yeah. Well, and then they added that. Yeah. So that's a thing that he'll have to consider is sort of which bike does he want to live with and then sell the other one or whatever. The plan is to sell that BMW, but the funny thing is, if that, I had my eye on that BMW, I do like it. If that BMW shows up and Dylan has to have it, or Tony falls in love with it, or something like that, or Brandon or Zach or whoever.
So Thunderbear said family, friends, and employees get first
That's
dibs.
sort of it. So you
may
may not see it for sale if we have to have it. And that sort of happened with Tony's bike. Tony has this gold Triumph, beautiful bike. He repainted, but I bought that. And when I brought that into the shop, he said, I've got to have this. And so we worked out a deal. That's the fun of having the
perks for
motorcycle
working
shop
with us or hanging around a lot. But Dave said we need some in the loop videos about him. You'll at least get that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. I do another thing called In the Loop. Most people probably, if you're on this, you probably have heard of it or are aware of it. But yeah, so I at least anything that's sort of interesting or unique or whatever, I'm definitely going to ride those bikes. And like I said, that BMW, I mean, it'll be 3 months before it gets here, which is kind of funny to think about.
I was going to say that earlier. When it gets here, well, the interesting thing about buying bikes at auction is that the auction was in January. We won't get the bikes until April.
Yeah, they're behind. It could be before that, but
usually
they had told us
the end
to
of
expect.
February, but
they said expect April, so they are sitting without running for that long, and they might need a little bit refreshing. Hopefully, the batteries aren't dead, but that BMW could be the quickest one because I think it's the most likely to run. That Kawasaki looked great too, so they all looked great, but who knows? The other guy, the guy with the Norton, we talked to him personally, and he said he rode it the month before that, so they should be fine, but you just never know. And that's part of what we do here. That's our business is I'm not going to sell you a bike that I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Like, we will have gone through it. You're getting a vintage bike that at least has been, gone through and, up to standard.
Thunderbear said, I'm not a fan of BMW Airheads only because of the cylinder location.
Who said that?
Thunderbear. The heat on a person's feet during the summer sucks. Also, I wish they had more stroke, but I'm being picky. I'm not sure I disagree.
Oh, you think the heat?
No, the cylinder placement.
Do you mean aesthetically? Or I don't think practically there's a problem with it.
I mean, my short, stubby legs have a hard time not hitting.
You think they do hit?
My shins.
Well, maybe we'll see when this one gets here. We'll see what you think about it. I guess I could see that about the real hottest days. I could see. I mean, there's some. Heat
my
coming out
Harley is going to be.
I don't
Harley's
know.
is
Just
the
keep
problem.
moving, man.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, I mean, I've been stuck in traffic on both of mine, and it is.
It's part of motorcycling.
Part of motorcycling.
Getting hot and sweaty. You're air cooled as well. You get some airflow.
All of my bikes are air cooled.
That's true.
I haven't owned a bike.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
No. Well, the Harley. How does that Harley work? I think the Harley is water cooled. The Harley has some very precise water cooling. And the Milwaukee.
I didn't realize my. Okay.
Yeah. I forgot about that, but yes, it is.
Well, never mind. It's still.
It's very subtle.
Hot as
They
hell.
hide it. Yeah. I know.
It is subtle.
It doesn't
which
work.
is why I like the lowrider, because I don't like a radiator. So, the look of a radiator, at least.
Yeah,
but it's still
if they can
super
make
hot.
it subtle for sure.
It's purely about the heat on my feet.
We got the feet heat. So
No problem on my Moto Guzzi. That is a good point. Is that the
because it's lower.
lower and the angle of the Moto Guzzi cylinders, your legs are not in the way. Or they're not in the way of your legs.
I completely lost the chat. Can you go up and see? Did I forget something?
Whose were you?
I don't know. There was things earlier that
Roland said he'd have 5 bikes.
He guessed, or
no, I'm actually not sure what Roland's answering.
maybe he's just exclaiming, "I can't believe you bought 5." We did not plan on buying that many. I don't know. They were great deals. The thing that was funny about I could talk about Meekum, but the thing that was funny about Meekum is later in the day, people really thinned out, and you look around and you're like, man, all these seats are empty. These people were really here bidding earlier. And so then we would go and look at the last 50 bikes of the day and be like, okay, there are some good bikes here. Let's just get a price that we like, the lowest price we want to pay on these, and just make a note of it. And we wound up with bikes because nobody was around.
I think my favorite part about the thing you were telling me about the Meekum auction is that your auction aid started saying, this next bike, you're going to be interested in this, because they know us enough now to be like, we think that you'll be interested in this bike because it's a Royal Enfield, or it's a this, like they've narrowed down what we are looking for so that you don't have to pay attention as much.
Yeah.
Or at least she'll point it out.
This girl is awesome. So her dad actually is an auctioneer. He's the most interesting one. He's the longest auctioneer from Meekum, as far as I know. His name's Jimmy Landis, if you ever watch the Meekum stuff. And he has the black hair, and he's very funny. And her name is Laura Landis. And so she's his daughter, and she's one of the spotters. And if you've ever been to the Meekum auction, that's a big part of actually making the bids, is the spotters. And do they see you? And did they get their bid in at the right time? And do they have the bid and all that? So
bidders aren't fighting with each other over, I had my hand up first.
Basically, you don't talk directly to the guy. He only watches his spotters, and they look at the crowd. And we got to the point where she just kind of knew the bikes we were interested in. She came over. This is very funny, I thought, and I won't talk too much about it because we can make a 2-hour thing on just Meekum. But she came over and she's like, "Oh, Dylan," because I also have a name tag, so it seems like she knows my name, but she's probably just reading Dylan. And she goes, "Dylan, you want this bike, don't you?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" It was a Royal Enfield. It was a green one. Did I tell you this?
Yeah.
And then
that's why I brought it up.
That's how you know. And I was like,
I telepathically knew that you should bring her up.
Well, I thought maybe I talked about something else too, but and I was like, "How did you know I wanted that bike?" And she was like, "Oh, you bid on the last one." And she looked in her notes, and it actually was a Triumph that looked very similar, but it was green. And I was like, "Yeah, but I'm the Royal Enfield guy." And she was like, "Oh, I knew that." And then so it was like, it does definitely help for them to know you. And she was taking notes of things you bid on that we didn't get, and the things that we did get. And they're just there to help. They're thinking, you probably don't want this bike that costs $200,000, but this Kawasaki that you just bid on and didn't get, there's another one just like it. Do you want this one? So it was fun. Yeah, Aaron, you would love it. Well, I think you would love to see it because Nicole and I have talked about this. How she thinks there's a lot of anxiety.
It's not my favorite.
They try to create that environment. It's so exciting that you get caught up and swept away and you spend $5,000 more than you meant to or something like that. But there's a lot to it. There's a lot happening.
There's a lot of noises. There's a lot of overstimulation. There's just so many people, and they're bumping into you, and you're worried about running into a bike, and there's people moving bikes around you. There's a auctioneer yelling into a microphone that's in the loudspeakers.
Well, and
are.
if you do this, which happened a lot, if you do this, hey, friends are over here, they'll take that bid. Oh, $20,000 for this guy, and you go, oh no. So there's some anxiety. So anyway, what I was saying for you is there something I missed in the chat? If you feel like I didn't answer your question or get to something, feel free to ask again.
Greg Davis asked, if you get your hands on a Centenario, contact me.
Centenario, which one? Technically there was 3.
Do you want the V7, the V9, or the V85? Because
technically, there was 3 each. So the Centenario is a 100-year anniversary. There was one of each. We have as our demo a V9 Centenario currently, which I guess we could sell. If you really wanted it, we could swap it for the other demo or another demo. The V7 Centenario is currently reserved. Saturday, somebody came and put a deposit on it. But I have another one coming, I think, used. We talked about it today. We've started making a deal on that.
Possibly. And then the V85 is possible.
Yeah, I know. We have a deal. We have a deal going for a V85 Centenario. That sounds crazy, I know, but anyway, yes. The answer is, first of all, tell me which bike you're talking about, and we might be able to figure that out.
Yes, Aaron, I don't think that the auction would be good for you.
Is that right? He doesn't want the overstimulation. It's fun. Honestly, it's a lot, and it felt like a lot. Like by the end of the thing, I was just exhausted.
Oh no, none of the things we just said.
A Centauro. Did you read it as Centenario?
I assumed that there was an autocorrect.
Oh yeah, it's Italian. A V11 Centauro. Yeah.
The 80s muscle bike.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So
those are hard to come by. Moto Guzzi doesn't make a lot of bikes, and so you don't see a lot of the older ones show up.
Right. Yes.
Did you have other things to mention in there?
No.
Okay, that's it. What were your other notes?
Those were all my notes.
Wow. So you're saying we're out of stuff to talk about? That just can't be it.
No.
Are you pretending? This is
no, but here's why I don't drink Blue Moon all that much. Makes me sleepy.
Oh,
the wheat.
Because of the moon. Because it's nighttime.
If anyone encourages him in the comments, I'm going to be upset.
Yeah. So, we were doing something, or you have something Saturday. That's why we moved this Quittin Time show to Thursday. But it could happen. We'll try to let people know ahead of time when it happens. But we will try to. I'm laughing because you said dad joke, and that was a dad joke. But
from back when they still made the Le Mans.
Le Mans. Talking about my mans. So anyway, we'll try to let you know when the next Quittin Time is happening, which would be just at the end of a day. It probably most likely would be Saturday. Did you mention this earlier, that when we sort of decided this today about when we're going to go back to our summer, what we call summer? It's not actually summer, but our summer hours.
I did not mention that, but what you should do is, it's going to sound real businessy, but I honestly mean this. You should subscribe to our newsletter, because I only have time to email you once a month, and I send you all the things that I always forget to tell people, like when we'll switch to our summer hours, which will be something I need to refer to the calendar, because we just decided that today.
But it's what is it? It's the week after the springtime ride. When did you have the springtime ride? Did you write it down there?
So it'll be March 22nd.
March 22nd, we're going to start to be open on Sundays again, and then we're changing our hours a little bit later. It'll be noon to 7.
Did you know that when you change something on a desktop, it takes forever?
I know.
It's hard to load. It still has the wrong hours.
Yeah. I see. I already mentioned, you already said hi to you, Flat Cap Cafe Racer. So he says he's from hello from Idaho, and I saw him at Meekum, and I mentioned that. How to subscribe to the newsletter? So is that would you think the easiest way is to go to the website?
Yes, throttlecompany.com, and there is a little form that you just sign up for the newsletter there, and it'll automatically send you the newsletter.
If you really can't figure it out, you can email us at info@throttlecompany.com.
Yes.
If you don't know, and then we'll just add you manually. So he was asking Thunder Bear. I got, like I said, we were joking before about no one ever knows if he's a he or a not.
A what or a not?
A he. A he? Michael Hackson.
Michael Hackson.
He was asking on a scale of 1 to 10, how shocked would I be if Royal Enfield produces an air-cooled 500cc single
You
in the
would
next 2 years?
Die of shock.
I would. I don't like to be. I don't like to rate anything sort of a 10 out of 10. Like is there a movie that's a 10 out of 10? Obviously, other than Hook. But it is because it's a perfect movie. But other than that, it seemed like I wouldn't give out a 10 really easily. So I'd say 9 only for that reason. It seems like.
And you really hate when people go 9.5.
No, that's impossible because it's a full point scale. Otherwise, it's a 20-point scale. So I would say a 9 out of 10 shocked, as in very, very, very shocked, because they just don't have that engine. That engine doesn't exist. I suppose you could add displacement to the 350, but
why would they do so? They'd have a 350 and a 650.
Yeah, that we are. We've talked about this a bunch, especially specifically on Quittin time, but. It doesn't seem like there's much room between a 350 and a 650. And also, if you understand the Indian market in December in India, I think they sold 60,000 motorcycles. Royal Enfield sold 60,000 motorcycles in the 31 days in December and in India. And like 47,000 of those were 350s. So I just think you're underestimating the
sheer numbers,
the impact or the demand or the market for the 350.
So he also says, do I reserve the right to say I told you so if they do?
Sure.
Because if you are able to say I told you so about this point, you've earned it.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but there's just no way you could pay more attention to this than me.
Okay. A question that has nothing to do with what you've talked about. Do any of your group rides not involve highway?
Of course.
Here's a fun fact. None of our group rides involve the highway.
Yeah, I can't. Well, you had mentioned that earlier. So to make the distinction is you had mentioned that you went on a group ride with 600 people. That was not put on by us.
That was before we had even an inkling of a business. And when I first started riding. So none of the Throttle Company group rides involve the freeway.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to do a group ride that went on the highway. I think that if we were all like, let's go up to Fuel Cleveland.
Roland.
If we said, we want to go up to Fuel Cleveland for some reason or something, then like maybe I can't think of a better way to get to Cleveland than like at least some or the majority highway. But you would know that going in. We would never do a ride. The highway's boring and it's not going to be fun with like 10 people or something. But you would definitely know that ahead of time.
I wouldn't call that a group ride.
Yeah, that'd be more like we're all going somewhere.
Yeah, we just happen to be going somewhere together.
Yeah, that's a group ride that was like an official Throttle Company group ride. We have never done the highway. The only thing that's like approaching that at all is we've done our own demo days for Royal Enfield, and because a lot of people are interested in how the bikes do on the highway, or they're impressed by, oh my God, I can't believe it went on the highway. We do one lap around regular streets and then we go on the highway. So you have the option of skipping the highway and just coming back if you want.
Now, if you are a woman watching and you want to be in the Litas, we do have freeway rides.
Do you? What would that be like?
So we rate our rides based on difficulty, which has to do with the distance, whether there's freeway or not, the technical ability needed for the specific route that we're going on, and how long overall you will be on the road. So I think
length of time is a big factor.
It really is, and I feel like that doesn't sound like for example, if you're doing Grandpa's Cheese Barn, that takes about an hour.
Just a totally normal sentence.
It's about
if you're
halfway.
Doing Grandpa's Cheese Barn.
It's about halfway between here and Cleveland, but you have to get off the freeway a quarter of the way there, and it's back roads.
Yeah.
So it's not really that far mileage-wise, but time-wise it is. And then you have to make it back. So you have to make it out there and then make it back. It's about an 8-hour day.
Mm-hmm.
Riding for 8 hours, maybe you have 2.5 hours where you're not riding while you're there.
That's tough for beginners.
That's a tough day.
Yeah.
So that, even though there isn't a lot of freeway riding in that day, it's still more difficult than if you spent the same mileage just on the freeway.
Yeah, that's true. Aaron had said, are we going to do an Iron Butt group ride? So somebody had mentioned that, Tony had said that in our events meeting that we're talking about having earlier today. I don't think we're going to do that. That sounds crazy. Honestly, the Iron Butt, like that's...
I have
a lot of people have done that,
no desire to do an Iron Butt. I ride a lot of miles. at once. I don't want to do them all in one day.
I'm not trying to dismiss it altogether because a lot of people do it and maybe people are inspired by challenges or whatever. But for us, it feels a little more dangerous than I want to do. Riding that tired or encouraging that kind of thing is just not something we really have wanted to get into.
Aaron says, I expect personal invites to some group rides this season. I can't miss the dates that way. You know what? Sign up for the damn newsletter, Aaron. Or text me more often. You guys are
friends. Yeah, just
or text me more often. What's happening?
You'll know. Don't worry. Because of this, you will be over.
Now I will inundate you with all of the information.
Next.
You're going to be like, I can't do that. I have to work.
Oh, I'm coming to your work, Aaron. We're going to drag you.
Well, he works from home.
Coming to your house. Okay, so... we were asking about ordering more stone specials. We have one coming. Yeah, we basically had someone pre-order. The only way at the moment to get any of the Moto Guzzi's beyond like what they're allocating you is to pre-order one. So we have one on the way. And because of how things worked out, that technically isn't sold. Even though it sounds like it would have been. It's complicated, but basically we do have one. We will
Don't ask questions if you want it.
We will have one available, and that is the V7 Stone Special, which is the worst name that they could have come up with, but it's a gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous motorcycle, so I'm going to give it some slack. It didn't choose its own name. No one does.
Maybe some people.
Thunderbear says highway riding is lame. So in my opinion, highway riding is, first of all, highway riding is lame depending on where you are. There are some sections of highway in eastern Pennsylvania that are gorgeous, as long as it's sunny and not raining. But it's still pretty.
Sure,
but yeah,
like
highway
from here to Pittsburgh was like hilly and like
yeah.
It's
there are some there are some sections of highway that I like from here to Xenia. We just talked about that for a group ride. Taking the freeway, highway. What is that? What is Broad Street highway?
Oh, well, that becomes an interesting question. But it's State Route 40 or maybe is it State Route 40 or is it like? Because it's national road. It might be like a national route or something. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I would call the highway sort of where it's 60 or 70 miles an hour and it's 4 lanes at least and it's fast speeds. We call that the highway. You sit on cruise control and stuff. There's no stoplights, but 40 has stoplights.
Yes. Anyway, that's not a fun ride. Straight there.
I was just saying that I had done that, and it's not so bad. You go through downtown Springfield, and it's kind of this historical town. I mean, it's not the end of the world. 42 is the worst. You and I did that twice. We've done that a couple times.
And the broadside wind on that straightaway.
It's just
for an hour.
Dead straight and dead flat. And there are no for a huge amount of it. There are no turns off. There's no intersections. So you're just like. There is no way to do anything interesting. It's just dead straight.
Okay, so Thunderbear brings up a good point that I'm going to go against. It's a sharp-looking bike. Nice to finally see a gloss finish on a stone.
Yeah, that's why I said it's a stupid name, because stone means
matte.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I don't know. Moto Guzzi, first of all, we talked about this. I love Moto Guzzis. They're gorgeous motorcycles. This is funny. My dad was saying this the other day, that if he could pick, speaking of if you could pick one bike, but it's not vintage, that he would pick his V7, the new V7 Stone Special. And then if he had to pick another one, if he couldn't pick that one, he said the Anniversario. So he says V7.
Okay, I do not like chrome. The Anniversario.
It's a 2017.
Is a perfect motorcycle.
Wow. I had no idea you felt this way. I mean, it's fine. I think it's interesting. I'm not betrayed or something.
I wish it had black chrome, like the Royal Enfield.
Yeah, well, they invented that, so.
So that with the leather accent, oh God, that.
It is gorgeous. It's beautiful. This would be a great time to pull it up. So we'll do it next time.
I don't know the technology.
I know. We'll have to figure it out. I mean, I have figured it out. I haven't added it to this Quittin time thing. So anyway, that's sort of my dad's answer about what his one motorcycle would be. The thing is, if you open it up to modern bikes, I might pick something like a V85. You know what I mean? Because like it can just do 100%. Everything. Yeah, for you, I think a Lowrider S is a good one. It's a solid one because it can do everything. It's fine around town.
I drooled over that bike since the minute it came out.
It's a good one.
I test rode a bunch of other bikes thinking, yeah, this will totally convince me. No, I think the bike that I could, of my 3 that I have now, I could do without the Sportster.
For sure.
But the
It
Himalayan...
has too much overlap.
Too much overlap, yes. The Himalayan and the Lowrider are 2 ends of the spectrum that just
Perfect. I agree.
perfect.
You have really done a good job in the, what did you call it? Stable building.
My stable building. I curated a good stable.
Anyway, the problem with Moto Guzzi, I started complaining about this. Obviously, I love the motorcycles, but they are Italian, and I think they just don't care about how the names either translate or the English names that they assign to things, because we talked about this in the very beginning. The adventure is more of a traveling bike, and the travel is more of an adventuring bike, and that, which is crazy.
And it doesn't, if you haven't looked into the V85,
it's confusing.
it's very confusing. So if you're standing next to one, you're like, oh, for sure, that is equipped to be an adventure bike. Nope,
Yeah,
that's the travel.
That's the travel version. and then the travel is more adventuring. It's just it's crazy, and then the V7s are that way too. So there's a V7 Stone, and then there's a V7 Special, which I call the classic. That's my way of remembering it. It's the more vintage looking one. Chrome accents, 2 gauges are the main differences. Same engine, of course, and all that stuff. But then they made the Stone Special Edition. So there's the Special, the Stone, and the Stone Special, which is just, don't do that. That's the worst. It's literally the worst. You could have named it avocado. You could have named it any word in the English language, except Stone Special is confusing. And that they just have done that.
Thunderbear said the Anniversario is sharp. That brown leather seat is such a lovely tone.
It is.
That's
It's like
the
a
thing.
lighter brown.
They figured
yeah.
out how to mix the leather plus the chrome and the tank belt on it.
Mm-hmm. So we have mentioned this before, but Moto Guzzi, being Italian, they get the upholstery right. Their seats are just very well built, and their little upholstery accents are awesome.
Very comfortable.
They could have named it Banana, which with 2 ends. Well, 2 ends in a row. Technically, there's 2 ends in Banana.
You're not listening to your Gwen Stefani music.
How do you spell it? Bananns.
Yes. So speaking of V7s,
We were. Oh yeah.
we were.
I'm just joking.
Let's talk about what we have done to the. Let's tease a little bit of that V7 travel bike we're working on.
Yeah, so we are working on a V7 touring bike. I'd call it touring.
That's much better than me saying the V7 travel version because
Because that was a V85 travel. Yeah, there's a we're working on a V7. Nicole, we're sort of building it as if Nicole was going to take it across country or something like that.
So if you don't like it when you see it, they're my preferences.
Those are my choices. But there's a girl that her name is Kate, and Kate made that, and on Instagram we could pull up if we had the tech. God, idiots!
You're the one who knows the technology. Do the thing.
And she has put 50,000 miles on that bike in like 4 years or whatever it is, 3 or 4 years. And she's the
Goals,
touring.
really.
Yeah, she's like the touring queen. Let's say king. She's the one.
Let's just say if I had the opportunity, I'm gonna just manifest this into the universe. If I had the opportunity to do a coast to coast ride, I would do it.
On the V7.
I'm just saying.
Oh, well, I think that the most we've decided to commit to is being the 2-wheel tour guide for Ohio.
Minimum.
At minimum. Okay, and then that will be, I don't know if that's the bike, but that will basically be building that bike for something you could do. So at the moment, what it has, we're working on handlebar risers, because I think that is an important thing for comfort, is to get your body up.
I have horrible posture and a long torso, so
you do have the unique torso.
Watch yours.
Anyway, you're perfect the way you are, but you need a little bit more handlebar rising, especially because of your shoulder injuries in the past. And then it's going to have bags. So that is something that Nicole is very particular about.
I am so particular about luggage on a bike.
And we're going to figure that out.
I'm a very efficient packer. So if I can't fit it into saddlebags, the saddlebags are inefficient.
Yeah,
and I've gone through how many iterations on my bikes.
Sometimes they're sort of just for looks, or they're these little like suitcasey things that don't have like the depth you kind of need for what you're packing.
I'm living off of this machine. It better be holding my cot.
I didn't know where we were going with that. Okay. And so And then we want to also get a rear rack. It has a windscreen on it at the moment. Does it have the rear rack? Did we put that on yet? I think we might have. Anyway, it also has exhaust. We added a different exhaust. It has Mistral exhaust.
I just like to say that. Mistral.
It's the one we chose.
Yeah, somebody asked about the used V7 Special that has Augustini.
That's right.
That are smaller than the Mistral.
Maybe that's true. They're very similar. In the whole world of Moto Guzzi aftermarket part pipes, there are, I was trying to say exhaust part pipes. There are basically those two, and we compared them head to head and decided Mistral was the one to go with. They come in black, they come in chrome, and we carry them now. We actually just got them in today. They're over there.
The Mistral has we took the baffles out.
So loud. It's insane.
Loud, yeah.
It's insane. We haven't figured out a way to really like film that, record the sound well.
Yeah, I made like a little story that showed
it's like so loud that
it
sounds quiet on video because it's like the video automatically adjusts. So we'll figure out how to do that. But the sound is cool because you can put the baffles in, and it's like the exact amount of like raspy, grunt that you want, and then you add and keep in mind this is a 90-degree V-twin, so people sort of think, and I think generally Harleys are known for sounding good, sounding like a motorcycle. I don't even think that's controversial to say. They are, most Harleys sound good.
Did you say sounding good, sounding like a motorcycle?
They sound like you think a motorcycle should, and that's a 45-degree V-twin, and a Moto Guzzi is a 90-degree V-twin, so it's very similar sound, which seems funny because you think, well, that doesn't look like a Harley at all, but it sounds like a Harley. So if you take those baffles out, it gets that deep tone. It doesn't sound exactly like a Harley. Obviously, the firing order is different and all that, but it's very loud and louder than you thought. So you have those options. Is my point. You have the baffles in, and it's perfect. And then if you want to be obnoxious, you have that option.
I am in the minority here. Everyone always asks me what exhaust I'm going to put on the lowrider, and laugh at me when I say we put the baffles back into the Sportster exhaust.
Yeah, that was too loud.
I am going to say something relatively controversial I've learned. Loud pipes do not specifically or necessarily save lives.
Okay.
Studies show.
I don't know if that's controversial. I think people bring that up all the time. Everybody says that.
People use it as an excuse.
Somebody says
straight pipe their
bikes.
They
save lives, and then someone says no, they don't because of this and whatever. But
no, just assume drivers don't see it.
But you prefer. Well, it's funny because that lowrider asked the brand new Milwaukee 8.
I love the way it sounds.
Is very
stock.
quiet. Well, but it is very quiet. I think that's why people think that.
I'm deaf and I need to be able to hear. Aaron said, don't all riders have bad posture? Look, I sit horribly on my bike for hours on end. Yeah. So yes.
And you got to find different positions. The thing about the lowrider compared to remember the Sportster? I got grumpy with you right out here because you were sitting next to me and you're all blah, blah, blah. Remember?
Because my bike was loud.
And I was like, I can't hear if this bike even started. Like, you're sitting there all loud, and I'm trying to start my bike up. I'm like, is it on? Am I holding the starter down the whole time and just grinding it?
That's why I stayed so far behind you, because I wanted you to be able to hear the exhaust on that. Because it was the Stornello, right?
I don't remember. It was a bike that I just got done working on, and I was like, I need to actually hear it.
I think it was the Stornello.
Well,
which has a relatively quiet exhaust.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but if you're next to a very loud motorcycle and you're not super comfortable with the bike you're on, you just started riding it, and you come up to say a stop sign out in the middle of the country, and you can only hear your motorcycles. When that person takes off, I've stalled a lot because I can't hear my own bike, so I didn't know that I wasn't giving enough gas, and you're clunk, oh man, and it's only because the other bike was so loud I couldn't hear my own at all.
All I want to say is I didn't have control over it. The baffle material had started to blow out of the back of my exhaust.
I know. I'm not blaming you. It's just in that moment, it's kind of funny. Did you finish your drink?
I did.
Okay, well, technically, that means we should wrap up then. And it has been over an hour, so I know the time flies.
Cracks me up, the guys with loud pipes that crank their radios up to hear them over the pipes.
I know. Yeah, well, we're not radio people. I think I don't
listen to music when I ride.
I don't necessarily care if I'm offending you. I think that putting a radio on a motorcycle is ridiculous. I think that's one of the dumbest things.
One of the things I love the most about motorcycling is it's a potentially group activity that you do by yourself. And therefore, I don't feel like I should be subjecting anyone else to any music that I might be listening to. no matter how fire the playlist is. Okay. Additionally, there's too much going on in my head while I'm riding to be listening to anything.
Yeah, and I feel like for the most part, we have the advantageous position here, especially in America, to be riding for total pleasure, right? So I guess you can do it however you want, but like it's a luxury, right? And
I ride for my mental health.
Yeah, and so I feel like it's a time to, like, if I wanted to listen to the radio, I would just take my car, right? I just want to like get out and experience the other things. I don't want to be distracted or trying to show off.
I think that's something that people who don't ride yet may not understand, is that there's so much more sensory experience going on when you ride a motorcycle than when you're in a car. So people are like, oh, I don't know, what would I do while I'm riding? Well, first of all, all of your appendages are doing things.
Yep.
And like when people turn the radio down to see better.
Yeah.
I
would be turning that down.
You already need to do that more when you're riding. And your hands and your feet, both hands, both feet, and your eyes, and your body is doing something. Yeah. You're literally using your entire body. So your sensory overload, for me, to listen to music while I'm doing that, plus the smells, the temperature differences, all of those are things that you're experiencing while you're riding. So I love music. I listen to music all day long.
Sure.
I just don't do it in a helmet, no matter how long the ride is. If I'm going on a 1,000-mile trip, I have not listened to anything inside my helmet.
No, me either. You and I are the exact same that way. And I think that, not to hit the point too hard, and listen to music if you want to, I guess. In general, I do find it a little unsafe because you can't hear you can't hear people beeping a horn at you or whatever if something was an ambulance. But I just feel like, for me, that's like not the point. And you and I had talked about this too. That was our friend Alex. He started getting into motorcycling, and he's like, something no one ever told me was the smells. You know, you go through a cornfield and you can smell that, corn, and you. One of my favorite things we used to talk about this all the time is like, especially over in Valley View. You know, you go down
these dips and the temperature changes drastically.
Yeah, and there's like especially if there's water nearby, like if you go there's like a little creek and you're just like suddenly get this blast of cold air in the summer, or like it's early evening,
or in the winter when it's cold. And you're just like, okay, good thing it's only 25 through here because the wind chill is like 14 degrees.
Yeah, so you and I we want to have the other senses happening.
I like, who said it? Mike says, best thing ever. My wife has her own bike, so we can do a together activity separately. It's one of my favorite things about riding a motorcycle. It's like, if you don't like team sports, you do something like track or tennis. You're doing this with other people, but it's you. You're only competing with yourself.
Well, okay, so here is my perfect way of sort of explaining that, or maybe it doesn't need explained because you just did, but we had our friend Zach, who's, I don't see him in the thing, but we're constantly mentioning him. And he was newer to riding, and you, me, and him rode to get pizza at our favorite Pat's Pub place. Shout out to Pat's Pub. And I'm just trying to do a YouTube thing. And then we were riding.
Sound bites, I heard.
And we had our in-helmet communication on, and no one was talking. He was having a hard time because it's the first time he connected it, and then there was like no one was talking for like 10 minutes. And we're just riding, it's perfect, like twisty roads and no distractions. And he was like, did my helmet cut out, or did no one just talk? And I was like, no, man, we reached Zen.
Yeah, we're very quiet riders.
And he was like, oh, I kind of did. And I was like, yeah. Like you and I talked about this, and I felt like you were sort of getting that with like all of your senses and appendages are in use. And so I think this is interesting. I think of it as meditation, and you do too. I think we've talked about this plenty, but when your brain, it's like in the shower, how you have good ideas in the shower, whatever. Your body and your mind is distracted exactly the right amount so that you're free to have more thoughts, or your mind can, I don't know, wander or be free to think more clearly or whatever.
Oh, this is a good question. Rick asked, do you ever use Rever? I used Rever at the beginning of when I first started riding, and I don't find it as helpful as I would have liked. I do like the feature of like making a animated map of your ride. I like Kalimoto. So if you're asking, do I use Rever to make routes? No.
Is Rever that one? I thought that was Relive. Oh, the names
The
again.
names of things.
I used to see.
Jesus.
I don't think you have used Rever. I used to use Rever exclusively. I think Rever might have been one of the first
Is it
ones.
Relive or Relive?
I don't know. I guess I don't know how to pronounce it.
answer
But it's
is no.
RELIVE is
The
the
thing-
one you were thinking of. That what that does is takes your GPS data and then like makes a little video, and it also can do your photos.
Yeah.
If you took a photo on the ride. But Rever, I used to use exclusively. I first started riding when I lived in Florida, and I didn't know anyone, and I didn't know any good routes. And the problem with Florida occasionally is Florida has some good routes, but if you take the wrong turn or whatever, you're just on a dead flat road, and it's so boring. So I was trying to be like, let's avoid these. And it was one of the first apps that would do that, and you could share routes and you could ride other people's routes that were in the app. But it seems like in my experience that like things like you were going to say like Kalimoto,
That's the one I
Kalimoto-
absolutely can suggest. Even the free version. is
which how do you spell it again? It's KALI? KAL.
CALI.
Is it C? I thought it was a K. You're probably right.
No, Cali. So it's not an American app, but it is Cali like California.
Oh, so CALI.
Which is how I always remember it.
MOTO. And the way that it's unique is it has an AI component where you can say, give me a twistier ride, and it will do the one.
So you
with the
can
most
give it a
curves.
point A and a point B and
keeps
say,
doing that
give me
curves.
the
Curves.
curviest route. Now, what it doesn't do on the free version is give you the curviest route. However, you can then snap the route to however you want it to be after it's given you a general suggestion. So if you've ever been on a group ride with me or the Litas or with Throttle Company, I most likely have started our route off of that.
Kalimoto is great. Aaron had mentioned that he downloaded it but didn't use it. You and I have built routes sort of like, let's use it to start, which is, it's funny because we haven't talked about AI, and I think it's too much of a rabbit hole to go to this point, but AI is so interesting as a topic right now to get you started. And I think that it's funny to use like Kalimoto or something like that, or it's an interesting tool to think, okay, Kalimoto, you give me the, how do they call it though? It's not the twistiest. Do they say it's like most interesting or something? What do they call it?
Curviest.
Curviest?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me.
So if you have the paid version, you have the option for twistiest.
Okay.
So that is a separate.
But so for example
category.
of what, to demonstrate what I'm saying, you would say, give me a twisty route. And then you could compare that to where, okay, that's great, but I know that I'd like to go to this intersection because there's a gas station there, or that would be nice, but it'd be kind of cool if I could take this route that I know like goes along the river, and that would be cool. So it's a good starting point that like gets you most of the way there, and then use it to like fine tune on your own, or like you and I have done. You really have to if you're going to do a group ride or whatever, you really have to ride it yourself because there might be something that the computer is not understanding. What was that?
The
wind noise
garage
again.
door. And often, so what I like about it is that you can then share this with someone else.
Yes, perfect. The social aspect of it.
So that there's because people are like, oh, I liked that photo from that place you went, and I am not paying attention enough to memorize the intersection of something.
Oh yeah, we've done this so many times where we found a place and then we try to get back and we're like, I cannot get back.
So what I also use is my Beeline, which is my GPS navigation, and I love it because you can record your ride. So I only use Kalimoto. Kalimoto does have a you can record your
you
ride.
You just said you weren't technologically advanced and watch you just like, well, I use this app and then I use this app to interface with the Beeline
and I have struggled bust through learning.
You've got it though. You're the one to go to for this.
Because when it comes to technology, if I can be convinced that it is something I should invest time to learn how to do, I will learn it, and I will learn it backward and forwards. If I have never been introduced to it, or I don't know how to get started with using it, or I don't feel like it's something I need to use brain cells for, I'm just not going to learn it.
Yeah, but what I like about you as compared to other people is so much, but is when what you do on this is you don't not learn a thing because it's a new thing. If you want like, for example, and you want what you would get out of this app, which is the ability to plan these routes, you will just figure it out. You'll just take the time to bulldoze your way through it, or just get frustrated but work your way through it.
Elegantly, in the times of Victorian education for women, would educate oneself about it.
For sure. Yeah. Autodidact. Someone in there mentioned Intangible Arts, which that's a name I haven't heard before. Hello. Huge endorsement for Kalimoto here. And for what it's worth, the robot lady voice has a charming Eastern Euro accent. So that's perfect.
I never used the navigation on it. That's what I was going to say, is that I use Kalimono to make routes, but you can record your ride in the app while you're riding. I use my Beeline to do that with.
Because it shows up.
Because
you
it
have
shows
it
up on my dash. So
yeah. Okay, well, I was feeling like we should wrap up.
Yep.
And so you finished your drink, and that's the official thing. I really appreciate, I say this every time, but I really do mean it. I really do appreciate everyone following along and participating in the chat.
I'm not sure why Ray said smile, but here you go.
Am I doing it? So, what? You weren't doing it?
No.
I was doing it.
I wasn't doing it.
I was protesting. So...
Doth protest too much.
So, anyway, thank you very much for following along, asking questions, participate. That makes the whole thing easy. Nicole had a bunch of notes, and she sort of rattled through them real quick.
Subscribe to the newsletter and then ask for the link.
You'll be up to date. We've got a lot going on. This week is the week that we predicted. It has been a little colder than we thought, but this week...
Today was the ultimate prediction that we thought it was
starting to get like 60 degrees, but this week is the week that historically, we only have 2 years. We've only been in business for a little over 2 years, but we only have 2 years of real information at this.
That's such a short answer for the complicated...
A long answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my point there is that we expect things to get really busy starting now. We sold 3 bikes on Saturday, and people are getting back into motorcycling, and so pay attention. There's a lot of events coming up. Newsletter is the official word, but following us on all the things should get you there, especially Instagram.
And all the things is at Throttle Company.
Yeah. So. Did you have something you were going to read?
No, just that the chat held Ray's smiley face emoji for a review, so I had to approve it.
Oh,
but
really?
The smile was to nothing at random. Nothing at random.
Because it's assy. So maybe it could have been like a big old, a floppy one.
Something wrong with you.
You know what I mean? What's the one you like to do? An 8, and then a bunch of equal signs, and then an arrow at the end.
What?
That's the one you like to do.
What?
I'll show you later. Okay, so next time we would love to try to do the on-screen demonstration thing.
Wow.
Would be great. And
what is wrong with you?
I was just trying to show you that my comment won't get. See, look there, somebody got held for review or whatever again.
Oh, thank you, Aaron, for demonstrating visually. Fred Murr, how far are you out on service? Email us.
That's a tough question. We have a priority for new bikes. So if you're talking about a brand new Moto Guzzi, or well, not brand new, but a modern Royal Enfield or Moto Guzzi, then the answer is sooner than you think. And if it's vintage, then it is further out because those are different types of service. Okay, so thanks for watching. Thanks, Nicole. Sorry, I've offended you deeply with my emoji assy comments. And stay tuned for the next upcoming Quittin time that will be
whenever we say it is,
but soon, and hopefully has the technology that I've promised.
That you have promised. Yeah.
I've promised, so it's me. I'm letting everybody down. We'll figure it out. Okay, thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.